Okay. Boker Tov, Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Yud Zayin. It's Daf Yud Zayin in Nizir, and today we're learning in honor. Today's daf is learning in honor of my grandson Mordechai ben Chaim Baruch, who's putting on film today for the first time. Maybe Zocher to put on film every day, the rest of his life, all the days that it's mutter, obviously excluding Shabbos and Yom Tov. Every day he should put on film for his entire life. Should be Zocher today. Thank you. So yesterday we were discussing the machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan said that if you said you're a Nazir while you're in a basic house, you're in a cemetery, and you accept upon yourself Naziris right now, is it chal or not? Is it chal? And I just suspended, and as soon as it can start, it could start. And we came, or Rish Lakish says, no, unless you take it upon yourself again, it doesn't really start. But we disproved him already, Rish Lakish, part of it, because we said, no, what do you mean? If you accepted Naziris while you're in a basic forest, in your Tameh already, and then you accept the Naziris, you can't shave and you can't drink wine and you can't become a mace. And if you did any of those things, you're going to get Malchus. So obviously it started already. So Rish Lakish first answered, no, that's speaking about you went outside, you came back in, you didn't really start, you went outside and you accepted Naziris and you came back in. But then at the top of the page, we'll just start from the top of the page again. We learned this yesterday. Esvei. We're going to have this brisa, which is mentioned on tomorrow's daf. We're going to have it several times today and tomorrow. There's no difference between a person who was tameh, who became a nazir while he's tameh, like he's in the basic forest, or a nazir who's tar, who became tameh. Ella tameh nazir shvi shelo olo minyan. Person who's tameh became nazir, so he has to count 7 days of tahara because he's anyway tameh. He's tameh mace, or tameh mace. And then when he goes to the mikveh on the 7th day, after sprinkling the third and seventh, after he goes to the mikveh, he can start counting immediately. The Nazir tar shenitma, but a Nazir tar who was a Nazir, and he became tameh, and he has to also count 7 days, but he also has to shave on the 7th day and bring a korban the 8th day. So his 7th day, he can't start counting an ain shvi shelo olam minyan. There's a difference between a person who's tameh. Person who became a Nazir while he was Tameh doesn't really start counting yet, right? But he is a Nazir at that time. He's a Nazir. He's prohibited from those things, as we said. He has the 3 prohibitions, but he could, since he doesn't have to shave and bring a korban on the 8th day, he could start counting on the 7th day as soon as he went to the mikveh. Whereas a Nazir Torah shenitma has to wait till the 8th day. If he's talking about the chlo chayla, if it's a chalamaylo minyan, what are you talking about? Olam minyan? It's not chal yet. How can you say the 7th day counts? Sure. What do you mean? How do you, to what count? What are we talking about? Everybody, even Rish Lakish is moda that it's chal. That is that it starts, even a Nazir who's telling me that he's in a basic forest and he accepts the Naziris upon himself, it starts. The question is, if he violates any of the 3 prohibitions, does he get Malchus on Rabbi Yochanan? So keeping the chal since the Naziris is chal. You can't start counting the 30 days yet because you're starting off being tameh. But so since it's chal, you're getting Malchus. Obviously, if it's Adam and Asra, Reish Lakish Savar, low lucky, you don't get Malchus. But chal, it's chal, but it's no Malchus yet. It's a lighter prohibition. In other words, the Nazir hasn't really started yet. It started, but it hasn't really started, right? It started, but it's not started enough to give you Malchus. That's what Rish Lakish says, but this is a weaseling way out. No, not that. We're going to disprove Rish Lakish shortly. Another kasha, Mishnah Nazir who basic forest. This is our Mishnah. If you became a Nazir while you're in a cemetery, I feel even you're at 30 days, ain lo min, they don't count. Ain olam lo min a minyan, those days don't count at all. But any may be korban tumah, and he doesn't bring a korban for being tameh. Again, a regular person who's tameh mace, a regular person counts 7 days and goes to the mikveh, doesn't bring a korban. Here too, ain olam minyan, ain may be korban tumah. Who do I see? He doesn't make a korban tumah. He would get Malchus again, accepting Naziris while he's in the basic forest. If he violated any 3 provisions, he would get Malchus. So the Gemara says no. Rish Lakish says no. Who says the dinner the less name look? Really, he doesn't get Malchus either. Since the Sefer wants to say in our Mishnah, we're quoting our Mishnah. Yotzef, he went out of the cemetery and he purified himself, and this he came back in. Then Olam lo min a minyan, those days do count. Maybe korban tumah. Because then it's like he starts his Naziris all over again. That's what Rish Lakish is maintaining at this point. If he went outside of the base of the cemetery, went outside of the cemetery, purified himself, And as we said, even Rish Lakish at this point was motive that it's chal. As soon as he purified himself, then those days start counting, and he brings a carbon tumah. Tana Reisha also ain't a maybe carbon tumah. In the Reisha, where he wasn't purified yet, he doesn't bring a carbon tumah. If he went outside and started his Nazir Saftara, he does bring a carbon tumah, but we're not talking about Malkus. It could be he says Malkus, you don't get either, so you can't prove it from there. Tashma, again, the same price that we quoted at the top of this page. There's no difference between a person who accepted Naziris while he was in a cemetery to a Nazir who was okay, who was clean, he was pure, and he became Tameh. A Tameh, if he was Tameh when he became Naziris, he doesn't have to bring a carbon. So on the seventh day, after he went to the mikveh, he can start his count. The Nazir Tar Shenitma. Nazir Tar who became Tameh. Why? Because he got to bring a carbon the 8th day. He says the only difference is this. Do you start counting on the 7th day or on the 8th day his clean Naziris? Mashma for Malkus, they both are the same. Again, Rabbi Yochanan is proving that for Malkus, while he's Tameh, whether he was a Tahar Nitma or he started off being Tameh, either way you get Malkus. This disproves Rish Lakish. Amalei lo litiglachas. You know what we're talking about? Not that they're the same for the Malkus, they're the same for shaving, that they both shave on the 7th day. Now understand something. If a regular person, not a Nazir, he becomes Tamei Lameis, he has to get sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th day. He doesn't have to shave. Shaving is only for, we'll see, for Mitzorah and for a Nazir. And a Nazir, this Nazir has two kinds of shavings at the end of his regular 30-day period, whenever he finishes his years. And then there's a Nazir, Shenitma, who also has to shave before he starts counting again. But there's no shaving, right? So here, he means he's Amalei lo l'tiglachas, they're the same. In other words, you're saying at this point that he has to shave, meaning just like a Nazir Tahor, who became Tameh and then counts his 7 days, and then he has to shave, bring the birds, the karbanos, etc. The same way we're saying that a Nazir in a cemetery, while he was in a cemetery, he was Tameh, and then he became a Nazir there. We said already that the 3 prohibitions apply. Rish Lakish tried to say he doesn't get Malkus for them. Well, that's what he's trying to say. Rabbi Yochanan says you get Malkus there too. And now we're saying no. Rish Lakish is saying that he has to shave also on the 7th day. The 3 prohibitions apply, and on the 7th day, when he purifies himself, he has to get saved. Now, this is going to be disproved later on today, but at this point, we leave it that way. They both need shaving. Meaning, we know a Nazir Torah who became Tameh, counts 7 days, and has to shave and then bring the karbanos. We're saying now also a Nazir Tameh, a Tameh Shenazir, meaning he was in the cemetery and accepted his Naziris. The 3 prohibitions apply. He can't start counting his Naziris yet for 30 days because he's not Torah yet, but he would have to shave after 7 days. That's what we're saying now. We're going to disprove that later today, but at this point, we're accepting and saying maybe that's Rish Lakish's way out. There's no difference between Tameh Shenazir to a Nazir Torah Shenitma, except that they start counting on the 7th day or on the 8th day. Mashma that for Malkus they're the same. No, they're different from Malkus too. It's only the same for shaving. Avalinya Malkus, my Zeloka, and Loka. So what? You're saying, according to Rish Lakish, the one who was Tahor became Tameh, he gets Malkus, but the other one who started off being Tameh doesn't get Malkus, the Lisnaya. So why don't you mention it? You said Ein Bain. Ein Bain means there's no difference between these 2 guys, except do you count on the 7th or do you start counting on the 7th or 8th day? Say this difference too. One gets Malkus, one doesn't. So we're only talking about things that help him, meaning is how does he start counting? Takanta means here a takana. How does he fix himself? How does he start counting the 30th day again? So he start counting. So we say we're talking about, does he start counting on the 7th day or does he counting on the 8th day? But the kukula, but his detriment, lokamar. We're not talking about things that are bad for him like Malkus. Okay. Also a weak answer. Tashma, another proof. Misha against Rish Lakish. Misha Tameh. The Nazar. Again, he was Tameh, he's in the basic verse and became a Nazir there. Also, he's not allowed to do the 3 prohibitions. He's not allowed to violate the 3 prohibitions. If he shaved and drink wine, the nit malamason, right? He was already done again. The idea, even though we're all Tamei Mace, Kohanim don't go to the funeral today, right? Because I can't do it on purpose. Here he says clearly get Malkus. So what's Rish Lakish going to say now? Here we have a brisa which says that a Tamei Shenazir, he was in the basic forest, became a Nazir. Not only the prohibitions apply, but he gets Malkus too. So it Davi takes effect. Tiyufta, here Rish Lakish is totally refuted. So, but
if someone violates all 3 things at the same time, why should he be a Nazir? He's not a Nazir.
No, he is a Nazir. He's a Nazir. That's like saying when somebody made a bet and he couldn't hold on to the bet. I'll bet this, and I couldn't withstand the bet, so okay, I lost. I have to pay. No, I don't want to be in the bet anymore. That's the bet. That's the bet. You betted that you said you're a Nazir, and then you violated it. You said, well, I don't want to be a Nazir anymore. It doesn't work that way. You can be shoel on your Nazir, go to Tar Sadar. You could do that, but if he didn't do that, he violated. He's chayv malchus. So here, Rish Lakish is fine. Is up Rish Lakish. Boy, Rava asked this question. Nazir, let's say this case, we're talking about a person who was in a cemetery and he accepted to be a Tamil. Let's understand something. A regular Nazir who's a Nazir, he's a Nazir, and he's about to go attend a funeral. They say, you can't go to a funeral. Yesterday we mentioned, I think I didn't say it correctly, we mentioned that, and then we'll see the difference between a Nazir cannot become Tameh. However, there's different stages of Tumah. If he's Tameh directly from a dead person, like he touched a dead person or part of a dead person or carried a dead person, or as we'll see later on, I didn't say correctly, even if he was attended a funeral and he was under the same roof, but he got directly from a dead person, then he's not only Tameh for the 7 days, he has to bring karbanos, and he has to shave, and he starts counting all over again. But there's other cases, let's say he touched, he was near a cemetery, or touched the oil of a mess, or other kinds of weaker cases where he was, let's say, under the oil with a revius of dam, not directly with a mess, didn't come in direct contact. Then yes, he's tamei and etc. And he presumably we get malchus for that too. But he doesn't have to shave and start counting all over again. He doesn't lose the count. So here, a person is as a Nazir and he wants to go to a funeral. Said, can't go to a funeral. Hey Jim, we have 2 Adam over here. You go to the funeral, you're going to get malchus because you're a Nazir. Okay. What happens if he was in the cemetery when he accepted his Naziris? Nazir who basic forest. Okay, it means he's not allowed, if he's a Nazir, he can't be Tameh, right? So if he's in the cemetery and he accepts Naziris, that itself makes him a chayiv malchus effectively, right? Because he just violated it. So the question is, by Rav Nazir who basic forest, Mal Boishi, does he need the malchus? We have a clause like this. Let's say a person is a Kohen, is working in the Beis Mikdash. And he became Tameh. He's got to leave. He can't be Tameh in the Beis Mikdash, right? So it's one thing if he was Tameh before, he shouldn't go in. As soon as he goes in, he's chayav, right? But let's say he became Tameh while he was in the Beis Mikdash. In the Beis Mikdash, he had a gonorrhea attack or something happened to him, whatever, he became Tameh, somebody died on him. He's got to leave. Okay, well, it's not his fault if he's got to run out as soon as possible, right? Take the closest exit and get out. So there, the Gemara discusses how long does he have to stay there to be chayiv? Enough time to bow down or whatever, right? So here the question also is, if he's in a cemetery and accepted the Naziris, would he get malchus immediately because he's a Nazir and it was Tameh, or does he need? So boy, Rav Nazir for basic cross, Mao boy Shia, does he need a certain amount of time till he's chayiv or not? That's the question we're in. Boy Shia malchus or not? Boy Shia malchus? Oh lo. What's the case? They told him, Lo Tinser, hey, you're in the cemetery, you're about to accept the Naziris now, you got a problem. Let me show what do you have to wait. Nazir Torah also. The gears should be Nazir Tahor, my time Lo Boshia. A Nazir Torah who says he's about to go to the funeral, they say, hey, you can't go to the funeral. He steps into the funeral home with the dead body there. He gets malchus right away. He shouldn't have gone in. The Kamasrabe, they warned him. Machanami Kamasrabe, they're warning him. Don't, as if they warn him. He's in a cemetery. He says, I think I'm going to be a Nazir. Don't do it now. And if he accepts it, he should get malchus right away. El could go and shenichnas b'shet have migdal. What happened was this. He was tahar. And he went into the cemetery in a box. A shida, like a chest, a box, or a portable turret or some sort, where he was protected. He stayed, he wasn't in the oil with the cemetery. He went into the cemetery in a box. Somebody came and took off the cover. So now he was like, let's say, an oil with the cemetery. We're not discussing whether it would knock off the days or not. We're talking about just in terms of malchus. However, he's tameh, even if you say like later on, there's certain kinds of tumah that don't require recounting the 30 days, but he's tameh. So that's the question. So somebody forced it upon himself, basically. He became tameh against his will. Somebody opened up the box, and now he's exposed to the mason there. So does he have to leave? Do you say, well, he's not chayiv until he stays there? He's got to get out, skedoodle out of there as soon as he can. So, that's the question. So when it comes to a Kohen in the Beis Hamikdash or any person Beis Hamikdash who's tameh, we say enough. You have to get out right away. If you stay long enough to bow down and get up, then you're chayiv. So the question over here also, Kigamir and Shia Beis Hamikdash, maybe the concept of waiting or delaying your time, delaying your exit. If you delayed your exit long enough to perform a certain act, then you're chayiv. Maybe that's a Mikdash. Al-Bavroy outside the Beit Mishlo. Odum Eloshter, is there no difference? Maybe he's chayiv right away. Maybe this, just like in the Beis Hamikdash, there's a certain amount of time that he's allowed till he gets out before he would get Malchus. Or do you say no? She is only the Beis Hamikdash, outside the Beis Hamikdash. Al-Bavroy go on basic forest. Lo boy Shia. Kivin Shapar mitachta v'samaziv. Afagav below Shah. He's chayiv. He's chayiv Malchus for being in the Beis. Now, of course, if it was forced upon him against his will, so you could say it was he's not chayiv, he didn't do it to Mazid. But if he knew that the guy was going to open it up and he was planning to do it anyway, and then he maybe he's allowed 0 time. As soon as the guy opens it up, he's chayiv malchus. That question stands. Boy Ravashi, Nazir basic for us, Tangil Chalo. So remember, Rish Lakish and Ahmed Aleph answered the question as well when he was trying to get out of it. He says, well, maybe the difference is maybe they're the same for shaving. In other words, a Nazir Torah became Tameh after 7 days of purification. He has to shave and bring korbanos on the 8th day. What about a Nazir? What about a Tamesh Nazir? He was in a cemetery and accepted the Naziris. So So obviously we said he gets Malchus if he violates the 3 prohibitions, right? But he's not a Nazir Torah. He doesn't have to bring a carbon on the 8th day, right? That's clear. There is no 8th day for him. He purifies himself by the 7th day, goes to the mikvah. Does he have to shave or not? So we already alluded to why would he have to shave? I mean, he's not a Nazir Torah nitma. So that, but he raises this question. Boy Ravashi, Nazir bu basic forest tangilu chalo. Does he need shaving on the 7th day? Ki boy tiglachas tor shenitma, a Torah who became tameh, a Nazir Torah. That's the process to come tameh in Nazirusay. He was matame his Nazirus, his Naziriteship. Aval tamish Nazir lo. Oh, dumalosha. Maybe this is a difference. Tashmal try to bring a proof. Mishnah Nazir bu basic forest. Again, our Mishnah. A person was in the cemetery and he accepted Nazirus basic forest. Afilu hayasham shloshim yom, even was there 30 days. Ain't no minyan. Doesn't count for his time at all, as long as he was there. He's in the basic forest today. He can't. We said already that the near serious is how that he's prohibited from the 3 prohibitions, but his Nazirus of Tara hasn't started yet. Veina maybe carbon tumah, doesn't bring carbon tumah. Carbon tumah hulo maybe doesn't bring on the 8th day. Avagulcha maybe he needs to shave. Gemara says no. The 2 things are interrelated. My time of karma, my time and maybe covered. The reason I didn't bring a carbon tumah in 8 days, those things go together. When do you bring a carbon? When you have to shave on the day before. And by the way, the same thing is at the end of the regular period of Naziris. When he finishes his 30 days or his 100 days, he has to shave and bring other karbanos, right? When he's tameh, he has to shave at the end of the purification days and also bring karbanos, different karbanos, but he has to. So maybe the 2 things are intertwined. Ma tam kamer, ma tam, and maybe carbon tumah mishum d'lo. So you can't prove that he has to shave from here. Tashma, another proof. Again, our case, the same thing we started. We already said it twice today, or 3 times. Ein bein tamish and nazar, nazar Torah shenitma. There is no difference between a tamish and nazar. Again, person who was in the cemetery who accepted Naziris versus a nazar Torah who became tamei. Elish tamish and nazar shvi shalo olam and a minion. If he was a tamish and nazar, his Naziris never really started properly, and he doesn't have to bring a carbon. So therefore, the 7th day, as soon as he went to the mikveh, his Naziris starts. His Naziris of Tarsus, but Nazir Torah shenitma ain't shvi shalo olam because he only starts on the 8th day. My love, that they would both shave. That's the only difference. But for shaving, apparently it would be the same. Like Rish Lakish wanted to answer on Amud Aleph, right? Lo, Halamalkus says shaving. They both get Malkus. That's what you want to say. One shaves and one doesn't. Again, the Nazir Torah shenitma, he shaves on the 7th day, but the Nazir the Tamish Nazir does not shave. So Lisnaya. So why don't you say that? You said what's the difference between a Nazir Tar Shenitma versus a Tamei Shenazar, whether they start counting on the 7th or 8th day. Say another difference. Does one shave, one doesn't shave? The answer is Tanashvi Shilo Bakomila. You talk about everything relies on the 7th day. When he says the difference is on the 7th day, what do you mean on the 7th day? Do you start counting or not? And also the other things that go along with it. That's what Rashi says that here. The reason the 7th day counts because he doesn't have to bring a carbon. The things all go together. So effectively, he says that. When he says you can't start counting on the 7th day, why do you start counting the 7th day? Because you don't have to bring carbon on the 8th day. And why don't you bring carbon on the 8th day? Because you don't have to shave on the 7th day. So it's automatic. So even though we've tried to prove so far that you do have to shave, we discounted those proofs. Tashma, another proof. Listen to this. Okay, you made tumasa. We know when a person's tamei, if he's a resident Nazir tahar, and he became tamei, those days that he's tamei do not count. The 7 days don't count for his naziris, right? Don't count for them. You may chaluto minai. Now, not only do they not count, what else? They knock off all the previous days, right? If he really became tummy, if he came in contact with a mess, knock the previous days. So here we're just talking about this. When he's a confirmed mitzora. You know, mitzora, if they first see the leprosy, they first check it out, they lock him up, but then when they confirm, the Kohen confirms it. So those days, let's say while he's a Nazir, he became a mitzora. So then we said, again, his naziris is suspended during that time. How do we know that those days also don't count? While a Nazir became tamei, the days that he's tamei don't count towards 30 days. How do we know when he's a Nazir who became a mitzora that they don't count towards his days? B'dinu makes sense. Why? Just like when he's tamei, after he started being a Nazir Torah, he has to shave and he brings a carbon. Also maybe carbon. When Nazir a mitzora, any mitzora brings shaves when he finishes his period of saras. He has to shave and bring carbon. They both bring a carbon, they shave and bring a carbon. So just like my and just they have the similarity. A Nazir who became tamei and a person, any person who's a mitzora brings it has to shave at the end and bring a carbon. So just like you made tumaso, they have that similarity. So just like you made tumaso, Nazir tamei ain't no minion. After you make chaluta, ain't no minion. That also should not count. The Gemara says that's not a good. It's all one brisa. The Gemara says no, that's not a proof. Lo im amrit you made tumaso shekem avato benas akobin. You made tumaso don't count during his 38 period towards the 30 days. Why? Because they're even worse. They knock off all the previous days. When you're tamei, you're a Nazir tar, you became tamei, it knocks off the whole previous count. You got to start all over again. Lefichach ain't only minion. That's why they don't count, because they knock off all the days. In other words, the whole thing is discounted. Not only don't the days of your tamei not count towards your 30 days of tara, but they knock off, they know all the days previous. When you're mitzora, your naziris is suspended, but it's not canceled. It's not canceled. When you're a Nazir who became tamei mes, your days are canceled. You got to start all over again. By a mitzora, it doesn't cancel, it's suspended, but it does not cancel it off. Maybe therefore the days of mitzora maybe should count. Even while you're mitzora, it should count. You know, you shouldn't shave and shouldn't drink wine and you shouldn't be tamei mace while you're mitzora. Maybe they count towards the naziris. So the Brisa goes on. Amrit, I'll tell you this. Uman Nazir bekever. A Nazir and a kever. What does it mean? Nazir in a basic forest. He was in a basic forest and accepted as nazirish. Shesaro roy letiglachas, that his hair is fit for shaving. This is going to be our proof, l'chora our proof. You could shave there too, ein olam and a minion, but those days don't count. If he started being a Nazir while he's made first, you may chaluto, she'ein royal teglachas, but may chaluto is not royal. There's no 7 days there that you're going to shave. You may chaluto, as we say, you shave at the end whenever you stop being tummy, when the leprosy disease leaves the body. There's no, it's not your roy, it's not considered fit like you're supposed to shave after 7 days. Lo kolshkein she'ein olam certainly should not count. In other words, right, my lav tiglachas tuma. So he's trying to bring a proof from over here that manach and nazir bekever, that while he's in the base forest, he accepts zeros, that he's fit for shaving, but those days don't count. You may chalutu where he's not fit for shaving, he's certainly not count. That's his kavachomer. My lav tiglachas tuma. Aren't we talking about a tiglachas of tuma and you say it's fit for shaving? So here's your proof that if he's in the basic forest and he accepted naziris, that he has to shave after when he purifies himself, he has to shave at the end. Gemara says, "Lo, tiglachas tara." When you're talking about being fit, you're talking about after he purifies himself and starts all over again at the end of 30 days. That's what the tiglachas we're talking about. And therefore, it's no proof. It's probable that way. You may chalutu milo boy tiglachas. Don't mechlut also needs shaving at the end, just like in naziris at the end of any tuma, at the end of naziris of tuma, you have to shave. You have to shave also at the end of mitzora. Versus low tiglachas and naziris. We're talking about you're not roy for tiglachas of naziris. You're roy for tiglachas of mitzora, but you're not roy for tiglachas of naziris. So That's not a good answer. You can't say it's mustaver that way, and it could very well be that the make tiglachas that we're talking about, you make lachas of tumah. So therefore, it's no proof against that. So we have one more proof. Tashma. The pasuk says, "V'timei rosh nisro," a regular nazir who's tar, and he becomes tamei now. V'timei rosh nizro, his head, he became the tamei. These are what are the rules he has to follow. He has to purify himself for 7 days, shave, bring the carbon, the birds, etc. Bring it over. The tar shenitma kasamada. We're talking about a person who was tar, nazir tar who was tar. He became tamei. Shutan havara seir. He has to shave. Vavasman. He has to bring the birds and the keves for an asham. The lifter as a nazir bekever. That's what he's talking about. That who is the one who shaves and brings the karbanos? Only if he was a nazir tar who became tamei. But a person who started off being tamei, meaning he was in the basic forest when he accepted his naziris. Besides the fact that he does it with Edom and Asra, he's chayiv malchus for that, and he still has the other prohibitions. But he does not shave and bring karbanos. Look, there's another kever. She'ain ton of our seir v'avasim. He doesn't have to shave or bring the karbanos. Why? Why do I need this pasuk? I would say the other way around. The person started off, he was tar. Unfortunately, he became tamei. Somebody died on him one day. He requires shaving and bring the karbanos. If he started off being tamei, that's a real bad guy, right? He was in the basic forest and he accepted the naziris, right? And it didn't shoot ton of so he should definitely have to shave and bring karbanos. That's what I would say, maybe a kavachomer. If a guy who was started off okay, and then an accident happened, somebody died on him, he has to bring the karbanos and shave. Somebody who started off, his whole nazir started off by being tamei. He was in the basic forest when he accepted it. Certainly should have to shave and bring those karbanos. Tamalomar, the timei rosh nizro. Pardon?
No, it's
Tamalomar. So I have a kavachomer telling me that he should have to shave and bring karbanos. Tamalomar, the timei rosh nizro. What does that mean? The misha yatar benitma kasam medaber. It says, when do you have to shave and bring your karbanos? The timei, you were matame. Your head, which was a nazir, you were already a good, clean nazir, and then you became tamei. The lifter and to pater, to exclude, and to not indemnify. What's the word? To pater him up, to relieve him of his responsibility for shaving and thing. As a nazir bekever. Nazir bekever does not have that responsibility. He is absolved of having to shave and bring karbanos. Shema, there's your proof. So that resolves the question. And like we said, Rish Lakish tried to give an answer. He does shave, but here we've proven that he doesn't have to shave. So it comes out that if you're in a basic forest and you accept Naziris, you're a bad boy. You get Malchus right away. We're not sure. Maybe they allow you time to run out, right? We weren't sure about that. But if you violate the 3 prohibitions on purpose, now, like you say, I'm going to sleep here in the basic forest, I'm going to drink wine and get a haircut while I'm here, you're definitely, chayiv malchus for that. We go like Rabbi Yochanan, you're chayiv malchus for that. And it starts, when can you start your Naziris of Tara? After you leave the basic forest. And, as long as you're basic forest, you can't even start counting the 7 days of Tahara. You get sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th day and go to the mikveh. And then you could start counting the Naziris Tara on the 7th day. As soon as you go to the mikveh, you can start counting on the 7th day. That's like a person who's tamei meis, goes to the mikveh. In most cases, going to mikveh during the day. Zava can go during the day. Anita goes at night. So we're makveh tonight these days. Goes at night. But other when you go during the day, like a shemesh yom keneged yom, etc., like we've discussed before. The question we raised yesterday about why we bring a proof from our Mishnah to the question of Rav on Tesvav. So I raised it, and I said the hard answer, and then Moshe Smith showed me that. He asked his rabbi there, and Takatosis says it. We missed it. Tosis asked the kasha on Tesvav and Aleph. That remember when Rav said that the day count, the 70th day counts for both of them. We said, Rav says that, and that seems to be a chiddush. Why don't we see from our Mishnah? And I think basically we're mechavan to what Tosis said, that in our Mishnah we're talking about 2 separate things. Like I said, the case of Avelus. We finished Avelus at Monday morning, and then somebody died on you Monday afternoon. You started another one. They're 2 separate things. Here also, we accepted 2 Naziris. You finished one, brought your karbanos, then you start the next one. The 2 things aren't in conflict, as opposed to things which are in conflict, where the 70th day was in conflict with another Naziris because the kid was born that day, and they both had to be effective at the same time. So that's what I think. I think that's pretty much what Tosfos says. So that's one. And so tomorrow, Mirz Hashem, we'll pick it up where we left off here, Montana. We're about 10, 12 lines down on the page. We'll pick it up from there tomorrow, Mirz Hashem. Have a good day, everybody.